Newcastle Knights, $26 to win the whole thing. Surprised everyone last year by finishing 5th. Went on that crazy run at the end of the year when Kalen Ponga was playing electric.
Kalen Ponga as well.
Yeah, it came up from 14th in 2022. It's going to be hard to repeat. We've all got them hanging around the 8. I've got them just sneaking in. You guys have got them just missing out. Lots of ins and outs. In terms of name value, Dom Young going over to the Roosters, big out. And Kurt Mann, handy utility, going over to the Dogs. The Lachlan Miller, who started the year at fullback last year, and the KP at 6 experiment didn't work out. He actually looked really good in the start of last year, but he's going over to Leeds. In terms of ins, Jack Cogger comes back from the Panthers, and Kai Pearce-Paul is an interesting one. He's a young edge-back rower coming across from Wigan and likely to start as an edge-back rower. Yep. So no massive names recruiting, but look, if KP continues his run of form...
Yeah, that team's all KP. If Kalen Ponga's on, they they finished 5th this last season, so I think that's probably where they potentially could top out.
Probably the roof.
Yeah, exactly. If he's good and they're playing electric football like they had been, they can push all the way up to, I think they're about there finishing 5th. They got a tough road ahead of them, but as long as Ponga's good, no concussions, and plays a full season, he and Walsh will be battling it out for that Queensland number 1 jersey.
That's going to be an interesting discussion there.
Who cares? Put them both in that one. Who cares? Put them both in the squad.
Who would you have play where?
Oh,
you'd have both in the starting.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Walsh one and Ponga can play.
Maybe
he says, you can play. Ponga's big enough to play elsewhere.
Yeah, 14 perhaps.
Yeah, hammer on his outside. So.
I think their pack's not too bad. If Jaden Brayley stays healthy,
brothers.
Getting the Sofidi boys around, Tyson Frizzell's still elite, Adam Elliott's good. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how good this Kai Pearce-Paul, KPP, is going to be. Depth.
Bradman Best was good from last year. So.
Certainly, their backs are good, man. Greg Marzu was a freak coming over from the Titans.
They need a good platform, and then just let Ponga work his magic, and then they'll score points.
Yeah. It's going to be 6 and 7 for me. Cogger and Hastings. Hastings has been pretty good.
He had a good resurgence.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see Cogger coming back to Newcastle where he started his career, how they link up.
And he does have, of course, Gamble to be knocking down that door because he'd want that spot back.
Yeah, true that. It may not even be Cogger. It might be Gamble and Hastings that start. Phoenix Crossland as well was elite, played a lot of 9 last year and then finished up as a utility. They're not a bad team on paper. I've got them finishing 8th. You boys went 10 and 10.
Yeah, they definitely look better on paper. So they, that's probably unders from us, but time will tell.
There's just so many of those teams in that middle of the pack that
could be anything.
Yeah, that really, we'll get to the Warriors in a second, but when we're talking about the Sydney teams, Sharks, Parramatta, Souths, that could really be in that sort of 5 to 12 conversation.
Yep. 100%.
Warriors now, it's nice the way that it's worked out just alphabetically, but it's also the two teams that really were surprise packets last year.
Yep. Yeah.
Up the WAHS, pandemonium throughout New Zealand. But I think once everyone's teams started to get knocked out, unless you were a Broncos or a Panthers fan, I think just about everyone was on the up the WAHS bandwagon. Mm-hmm. Finished 4th, $23 to win the whole thing this year. Andrew Webster in his second year as coach, and get a bloke called Roger Tuivasa-Sheck returning, coming back from rugby. Mentioned Kirk Capewell from the Broncos. It's 2 guys that essentially will go straight into their starting 13.
Yep.
Outs, Josh Curran, pretty reasonable player, goes over to the Bulldogs. Bailey Sirenen, Valia, Viliami, a few guys outs, but not superstar talent there. So, again, if we're doing the on-paper thing, arguably could be better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think Chance is going to have Roger knocking down his door to take that 1 spot. He had like
Can you have a look at his health? Because there's some chat that Chance might be missing week 1.
Yeah, neck injury potentially.
It's not who you want to give a number 1 jersey to.
No, and because in the trial game he had 150 meters.
Yeah,
which was I think I saw a funny stat that was almost the total amount of meters he gained playing in rugby last season. So, which it might be a complete bullshit, but I thought it was funny.
It's going to be interesting to see the workload and how he adjusts.
He looked good. He looked good from what I saw in the trial, and you slot him straight into 1. I really liked Metcalf last year. I think he's good young talent. He's got surprisingly good pace with him, and Sean Johnson was Sean Johnson last year.
Maybe robbed of a Dally
M. Yeah, exactly. Maybe should have had a Dally M. I see you got Martin in there as a potential. I think he's more a 1 than he's a 6, but he's a guy that can give him plenty of depth in and around there. So
got Harris DeVita coming back as well. Had a sabbatical last year, so a big question mark around who will wear 6. I think it will be Metcalf.
Yeah.
But they've got options there, whether it's...
they've got some good depth.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It's on paper, geez, their pack is...
Yeah, I think I've got them at 8,
crazy.
and I feel like that's unders after all we've just discussed. So, yeah, I think they can... Maybe their weakness is a little bit at 9, but I think, they got... Well, I think... Yeah, I actually saw your point there. Is this make or break? Is it this season or bust, essentially, for the Warriors, considering Sean Johnson is 35, and add to that Flanua Blake is leaving at the end of the season. So, you've got potentially number 2 front rower leaving. You might as well try and get as much as you can out of him now. So
I think just clarifying on SJ, I think he turns 35 next year.
Next year, okay.
So it's... they're gonna.
There's not many years left.
Not many years left. Maybe next year's his last year. Maybe it's this year.
Yeah.
And confirmed we'll lose AFB.
Yeah.
So you're losing an elite middle.
Yeah. They took a really big step forward.
Elite 7.
And they've added some definite talent in there, and hopefully they can push that and try to capitalize on that now, because I feel like they have to. Because otherwise, again, you go back and they're like, well, who's going to be 7? Going forward.
It's that old chestnut. Having said that, look, I've got him at 6, and I wanted to have him,
higher,
pushing that top 4, but I just couldn't quite do it. We'll get to South next week when we talk about Sydney teams. I had South just ahead, but look, if they get a roll on and with all the support,
Jimmy, do you have the table there? What was their home record?
They were pretty good last year. I reckon they lost 3 games at home, maybe.
Yep, they were 8 and 4.
That was 4. 4 at home. So again, it's much like the Broncos. Their
the away form was good.
Away record was really good.
Yep. That's it. On Chance, it looks like he might not be returning until round 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer for him.
Slot Roger in there and he'll lose his job.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've confirmed that they won't shift Roger.
Oh, who's going to play 1 then?
So Martin's going to play 1.
Tamara Martin?
Sure. Maybe.
Because that's the only other fullback I can see on that list.
Harris DeVita could wear 1. They haven't confirmed it.
They haven't confirmed anyone yet.
Yeah, interesting.
So
watch that space.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see.
Very good. Monks, where did you have them? You had them 7. So both of you guys got low end 8. I've got them 6, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
5.
hard to like, they were so good last year. How could they go better? But they've got a couple of guys that hopefully can, push them over the edge.
Well, out of them and Newcastle, I could see them going better this year than the Knights.
Yeah, looks like they might have Tane, Picky.
Tane Tuapiki.
That he might be playing
interesting.
fullback.
Interesting.
I have no idea what he's like. Time will tell.
Yep.
Cowboys, sort of the opposite of these teams. Really good in 2022. Missed out on the 8 last year. Had a reasonable run towards the end of last year. Were pushing for the 8, but just missed out.
Yep.
Finished 9th, 12 and 11. $15 to win the whole thing this year. Not huge ins or outs. Jake Clifford comes in. James Tarmow's retired. That's more some of the more household names there, but one of the teams with less player movement. and that was until yesterday when Luciano Leilua, it's been announced, will effective immediately be joining the Dragons.
He'd wanted out for quite a bit, so
had a pretty crazy asking price of about 900 a season. I think the Dragons, what are they had 2.3 over 3, so a tick under 800. So good money for Luciano Leilua, going back to the club where he played his junior footy. I think he was a Hurstville junior, so definitely knows the St George area. It's going to be interesting to see how he slots in at the Dragons. I don't think it's a massive loss for them because Helium Lukey is a very good edge back rower. Obviously, Jeremiah Nanai is going to have one of those
he had a very
edge positions.
average year last year.
Well, I think he set the bar high for himself as a youngster.
True. Okay, down year compared to his previous year. Yeah.
He's 20.
Yes.
I think...
and I think he can only get better as well. So, they're a good squad full of potential Queensland guys. They've committed to Tom Deaton long term.
Who was good last few years.
Yeah, they're going to see what they can get out of Townsend, and then Clifford is, I guess, the potential replacement there for him. I think they're a good, solid squad. I just don't think they've really done much of anything, and they're kind of where they were last year. So that's why I've got them at 9 again.
We've all got them at 9. I've gone 10. Same thing. I just don't see on paper how they've gotten better. Having said that, they were pretty banged up last year. They performed unders. Yeah. This is certainly one of those teams that their ceiling could be 5 or 4.
Yep.
That's it.
Semi Valamai went over from the Raiders and looked all kinds of good. Might be interesting to see if he gets a wing spot or if he gets a centre spot. Val Holmes, Murray Talangi certainly will have one side set. Scotty Drink will definitely have the one on his back, barring injury. Their pack's pretty good on paper. Ruben Cotter, Reece Robson played Origin last year. Cohen Hess has played Origin. Nanai's played Origin.
They got one of the better 14 men as well, and Jake Granfield. So,
depth is an interesting one. If some of these big names get hurt, don't have the depth of those elite teams. Forward depth's not bad, really.
McLean's in there.
Jordan McLean, Gojeski. Some reasonable players there in terms of forward depth. I'm just thinking more from a spine depth perspective. Yeah.
What about? I mean, we kind of see it when Jason Tamalolo is out of the squad, largely due to injury. They sort of take a step back as well.
He had a very unders year last year, but there's also I think they're potentially because he's no longer the captain. So was it Cotter? Who's their captain now?
Might be Cotter.
Yeah. Some of the comments then made by Todd Payton about long-term young guys kind of alluded to maybe they're looking to get out of Jason's contract in the not too distant future. Because I think
how much he got left?
Because he
signed that
10-year deal. Yeah. He might be year 7, maybe. But he's probably at the good point in that deal where he's kind of getting paid, sort of what he's worth, if not a little bit closer to it. But yeah. So when did he sign in?
2017. Jeez, where does the time go? Yeah. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I think this is his eighth
year on that.
Yeah.
Yep. He's getting there. Cotter and Deaton seem to be co-captains.
Yeah. Again, because they've committed to Tom Deaton. And so, they've gone and was like, hey, we're committed to the young guys. They're the future. Kind of makes questions about Big T, whether he's going to be there long term.
What do you think about the Queenslander spirit as well? So, it used to always be the Broncos were half the Queensland Origin team. You look at that 1 through 13, Holmes, Talangi, Dearden, Cotter, Nanai, Hess, like these guys all played for the Maroons. So they're going to be, best of best mates. Origin period again, that does have an effect through the Origin period and how they prefer.
And it goes for all. It goes for all the Queensland teams. Like Brisbane, they've got the other half, and then if there are a few Dolphins and a few Titans in the mix to round out the squads.
I think the Cowboys have got more starting Maroons than the Broncos do.
Maroons,
Walsh, Cobbo.
McMahon wasn't, but I don't think he won't be. And Carrigan, and
that's it from 1 through 13.
Yep. Oh, Oates had played there. Sure. Well, if Oates is on the wing, then yeah.
So it's kind of the opposite of how it used to be, where the Maroons were the Broncos with a sprinkle of Cowboys and other clubs. Now it's like the Maroons are the Cowboys with a sprinkle from everywhere else. So again, that can have pros and cons to it. Cons through the Origin period, it's going to be hard to win games, but that's 3 games.
Yeah.
Pro is these guys are beating the Blues when they shouldn't be on paper. Worst team ever.
Don't be an Origin game.
Worst team ever comments. But they're going to be best of mates and have one Origin together. So that's got to play into things for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That only makes them better.